Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, it's been brought to my attention by multiple people that we have more information on the cheaters that I've kind of discussed about in the past, and some of the advancements they've made in their tools that I really want to try and spread even more awareness on, as this is, as we already know, with the July 1st update, it broke like their main tool. The main thing that they were currently using it for was botting a ton of fans for their clubs. We saw the elevated club ranks. We also saw the ability for people to cheat in skills on their Umas that they normally couldn't get, especially when it came to the gold skills. We saw that on like gold ship having super stand and whatnot. But they were working on overall fixing the tool so that it would work again, but also making improvements. And now there's actually a Reddit post of somebody actually that's kind of spying on the group per se. And I've also had someone DM me on Discord a lot of stuff we're seeing with it as well, on what they're actually adding into the tool now that is actually going to be incorporated and kind of work with Hachimi, which I know is a tool that a lot of people use. Even I've used it on the JP server as a translation tool. Well, now they're adding all these other things to work similar to that, but also having all these other things that are actual cheating versus just something maybe translating or bringing the FPS up to like 60 FPS. And so I thought I'd just, to bring awareness, talk about everything that it states here and what it's kind of doing and how it ultimately can ruin the game overall when it comes to the competitiveness, not only in Champions meetings, because at least in Champions meetings, you have to randomly run into them in your finals for it really to have an impact on you. But League of Heroes is the mode that I'm most excited for because it's the true competitive one if you want to really rank chase in the PvP. And it's one of those things where you're trying to be number one or whatever within the entire server versus just winning a tournament. And if you're able to cheat the Umas the way this can, it's going to be very hard to compete with somebody that uses these. So for that, to bring awareness, we're going to go through everything he kind of talks about here and how it will impact the game. And hopefully you can kind of just, hopefully everybody can just scream to Cygames that they need to do something about this. Sadly, the biggest solution they'll have to it is to put in like a check that would basically stop any of these third-party tools, which ultimately would mean the death of Hachimi, but it's absolutely going to be necessary to stop what they have in here. And kind of going through it, the first thing is, like he's mentioned, they're calling it Overseer. It's basically, he's calling it Power Creeps Hachimi. It's going to have all the same functions Hachimi has, so you're going to be able to do the translations, graphics changes, and whatnot within it. Realistically, Cygames doesn't care about those types of things. It's not actually impacting the game and giving you really any advantage. So they haven't done anything with that. It's how they get a lot of players to play on the Japanese servers, even if they don't know Japanese. And they translate it, which is, we can see in the first thing here. But the first thing that's kind of a big cheat in there is the hyper skip, instantly skip animations. We've already seen it when we got that first little update with July 1st, where the animations are quite a bit quicker now. You can go through the cutscenes quicker. There's actually a new quality of life that we'll eventually get that makes it even quicker for us. But this tool is going to make it instant, so you're basically not going to have any of that downtime. You're going to make your decision, and it's going to instantly move on. So just making runs even quicker. Realistically, Cygames just needs to give us this quality of life on its own right. But until that happens, we absolutely cannot have them being able to do that, because they're going to be able to do runs a lot quicker. And if you're wanting to make that top tier Uma for something, the faster you can do the runs, the quicker you can be able to pull it off. Then you have Career Advisor that helps you out while you play. So this one, there's another thing down here that's kind of integrated with this. They don't really completely detail this out, but it might be something that, from what I've been discussing with someone in DMs, they have things that can tell you as the run starts. You'll be able to know if your support cards are going to finish all of their chains, or how to make them finish their chains if you can interact in any way to force them through. So you can know right off the bat, is your Kita-san Black going to finish and get Professor of Curvature? If not, you can just glue the run immediately. You don't have to waste your time playing it because you know that card's not going to finish it. Or if you need to kind of do something to make it happen, you can, and to a certain extent. And it's going to assist you in basically knowing if the run's dead before it's dead, and to a certain extent. Plus, probably some other little things in here. But they actually have another detail down here that's even more important. You have performance unlock, increase or decrease. I mean, that's kind of like the 60 FPS update a lot of people use for. Not really the big deal there, as well as the graphics quality. The big one right here, though, live predictions, tells you the outcome of events, racing, training, thus negating RNG entirely from your careers. That's what I was always just kind of mentioning there. You're going to know if your support cards are going to finish before you even go through the run. So if you have 5 support cards, you're needing to finish. Also, if you're using something like Fine Motion and you're needing Speed Star to hit versus the other one, you can know those things are going to happen before they happen. So you start a run, you know Kita-san's going to finish, you know Agnes Tachyan's speed is going to finish, but then you learn Fine Motion will not finish her event chain or whatever. Well, you can glue that run very quickly. So that's a big thing. The other thing is when you're doing training, your percentage chance to fail. If it says you have a 50% chance to fail, I know most people won't take those odds unless you're like me going for that very, very high roll and it's a very good hit on 50%. You'll gamble it. You don't know if you're going to pass or fail that training check. This tool will tell you if you're going to fail that training. So it doesn't matter if it says 80% chance to fail. This tool will tell them if they're going to be lucky and hit that 20%. If they know they're going to pass the training check, well, they can hit it, even if it's just for a small rainbow that nobody would normally ever gamble on because it's not that big of a hit. This is going to let them know, oh, you're not gambling. You're going to pass the check, so go ahead and hit it. So they just completely get rid of the RNG on that, and they're going to be able to build some monster Umas using this without it really being a cheated Uma, because they are theoretically possible to build Umas. They just are doing it very, very quickly using this cheat to just completely avoid having to gamble at all when it comes to building them. Affinity display when selecting parents. Realistically, I mean, if they added something like this to Hachimi, that'd be pretty nice. I mean, we're already using the tool on... I use the one on Chronogenesis. There's other websites where you can plug in your parent and it'll tell you exactly what your affinity is. That's something you normally have. Cygames really just needs to add something like that to the game. I wouldn't consider that a big deal. That's what realistically a quality of life we should get. And it's not really cheating because we have access and ability to do it. They're just putting it into this tool. Accessibility tools such as an in-game color blind mode. I mean, some of these things are just quality of life things I don't really care about. It's not going to let them cheat to a certain extent. It's the things like the live predictions that's a problem. Stat logs and history. I do know some people use Hachimi. I've never used it, but actually there's tools out there that they're utilizing to actually tell them how their race went. Kind of like how you can use the Umulator to kind of simulate races. There is a tool that I know some people use to actually tell them how the race they just ran went exactly. And they can see the full breakdown of it. I mean, you can consider that cheating to a certain extent, but it's not cheating itself. It's just giving you more data to better understand how your Uma's performing. I'm not exactly against that kind of stuff, but ultimately, they just need to implement that into the game themselves versus using these tools to do it. I think it kind of mentions here working on other tools that involves independent training. One such tool that will be able to manage and loop independent training for an entire club. And so this is where now you're going to have fan problems again. They're going to have one tool where you can just have 30 botted accounts just running independent training consistently. And they're just going to stockpile a ton of fans. And they can basically speed up the independent training, from my understanding as well, making independent training not take 50 minutes, but have it almost being instant, from my understanding. And so, just like the old bot farm, they're now going to just abuse independent training to spam bot farm. Not only fans, but also getting god tier parent Umas. As you've probably already noticed with independent training, the quality of parents overall is going up across the board. Because of that, this is going to be the same thing, but even at a more accelerated rate. And knowing these kinds of cheaters, they're not going to make them publicly available. They're going to just use them themselves and make their own god tier parents that they're going to be able to use to make god tier aces through using the cheats with the live predictions, so they don't have to gamble at all in their runs. And thus, those people, and if they actually know how to play the game, are going to be able to get themselves very high on the leaderboard in something like League of Heroes. And then if you run into one of them, of course, in a champions meeting, you're going to get crushed by them. So really, really bad there. Now, I mean, there's a lot of discussion here in the Reddit. I'll post a link to this if anyone wants to kind of read through a lot of the things people are saying. But like one of the things, there is a quick and easy fix to this, and ultimately, while it will suck, Cygames probably should do it, and that is just putting in a check for basically Hachimi. itself in something for that basically just shuts down all those third-party tools. While it is nice to have access to Hachime for playing on the JP server, there are other outside tools you could use for live translations to a certain extent. Something I'm actually going to be using for another JP game coming out here in the near future, since it's not going to release globally. And thus, if you lose that, you're gonna, and the people that use it for like the 60 FPS, ultimately, I think it's going to be worth it if they just basically shut down the third-party tool overall. Because if they have no way to really prevent this, if they can't put any implementations to prevent this, it's just overall going to ruin the PvP in the higher ranked tiered stuff that we have coming out here in the future. Like I said, League of Heroes is the one I'm most concerned about, is that one has like a true leaderboard where you're climbing and you actually see your rank, versus Champions meetings where it's just hopefully you don't run into them in your finals. Which if you do, that absolutely sucks. And with these tools, you're not even going to know if they're cheated, because you can make a very, very strong Uma that on paper can legit be built, and thus it'll be less detectable than, say, picking skills that you normally cannot get on them. And so, yeah, this is pretty bad. Now, they have shown some motion on it, as we've seen in the past. They were able to detect the cheats people were using in the other clubs, although it kind of did seem like potentially it was just mass flagged. The obvious clubs that had it, that they just sent the message to every members. And ultimately what shut that down was the bot breaking. But now with independent training, they're actually going to be able to hide a little bit better even in that aspect. Because everybody's running independent training and we're all getting a crap ton of fans. I mean, I'm getting 10 million plus a day very easily. Now, if they go back to using a similar bot that's getting even more than that, of course they're cheating. But it's definitely going to be harder and harder to detect them as we get the quality of life ourselves. And so they just need to act on this as quickly as possible, as this is really, really bad overall. And I'll have to see. One of the things is I'm kind of talking with people in the background that kind of spy on these people. If anyone could actually showcase, like, I wouldn't say actually cheat it, but someone can showcase me what this is doing. If I can get access to video on showing it in action, I would not install it myself, but if someone could show me it, I would then show it so that we can get attention out there even more so to Cygames, so we can stop this. But that's going to be pretty much it for this video. Just make sure to, I mean, you can put out your feedback to Cygames, and they need to look into this and try and stop this before it becomes a problem. I mean, of course, this also impacts the JP server, because this isn't just global getting hit with this. They're putting this live in JP as well, which hopefully from the JP players, they tend to listen to them even more so. So hopefully they complain as well, and they act a lot quicker. But that'll be it for now. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.